All right, let's do our conversations now with the members of Parliament. First, for Ningo Prampram, Mr. Sam George, and also Mr. George Anda, Member of Parliament for Ewutu Senya West, and a Deputy Communication Minister designate. Good morning to you, gentlemen.
Good morning, Mama V.
Thank you for coming.
To your viewers.
Sure. So how are you? You're Deputy Minister designate for Communications.
Well, I think it's a privilege, it's an honor to be selected amongst the 110 to serve.
That's a huge number. Do you agree?
A huge number that is going to do big things, a huge number that's going to fix the economy, a huge number that's going to deliver on the audacious goals and targets that His Excellency President Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo has set for Ghana. And I think the most important thing is that we are going to serve with honesty. We're going to be hardworking. We're going to be humble. We're going to be delivering on our promises. And of course, we're going to be cooperating with our friends like Sam George to make sure that the institutional memories are transferred properly. And Ghana is the ultimate winner going forward.
The two of you as Deputy Minister designated at the Communications Ministry. Are you clear as to what you'll be doing exactly?
I think there's going to be a briefing from our sector minister. So I will not sit down and say that I'm 100% clear as to what exactly role each of us is going to be playing. Ultimately, we'll be working with the minister, we'll be supporting the minister to deliver on our manifesto promises, to deliver on the strategic plans that the Ministry of Communications has. We're starting our internal briefing today to prepare us for the vetting, and I think it's going to be great.
When are you appearing before the appointments committee?
We are not sure yet. We haven't been given a schedule yet, but I know some would be there.
But you don't think that one of you, I mean, you could have done the job instead of two?
Well, why do you have two cameras here? One camera could have done the job in it. But listen. I do recognize the fact that some Ghanaians are concerned with the number of ministers that have been appointed by His Excellency President Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo. However, we should also bear in mind that there's a lot that we have said that we will do for Ghana within the shortest possible time. Indeed, if you do recall, most of the things that we said we're going to do, our friends on the other side were saying that this was impossible. So clearly, there's a task that seems impossible to the ordinary person. The visionary president that we have knows how we'll be able to turn this around. And he knows how he can get the best people to deliver. And I guess that's exactly what he's doing. Numbers per se do not necessarily determine the efficiency of the government. If you do recall, President Jerry John Rawlings had a certain number of ministers. When President J. Kufuor came into power, he increased the number of ministers. When President Mills came into power, he reduced the number of ministers from 88 to 75, if my memory serves me right. When President John Mahama came into power, he took it to 90.
He disagrees with you.
It doesn't necessarily have a direct impact on the public purse.
It doesn't have a direct impact?
It doesn't necessarily.
There are a lot of privileges that you will be enjoying.
Can I land? It doesn't necessarily have a direct impact on the public purse. It depends on the kind of guidelines that go ahead with appointments. Indeed, if you're talking about the protection of the public purse, under President Mills' administration, one person who was not even in government, okay, he was able to I don't want to use the word steal, but for want of a better expression, he was able to take 51 million from the public purse. He wasn't in government. Similarly, under President John Mahama, Smarties, 3.6 million was not in government. Okay, the most important thing is that we are sensitive to the plight of Ghanaians. We are sensitive to the issues that are being raised. Our visionary president has a plan. He has a big audacious goal that he wants to deliver for Ghana.
And he's doing that with
and in the next couple of days, there are a number of guidelines that are going to be issued out, including the use of four-wheel drives. It is my understanding that, like the Minister of Finance uses a saloon car. I mean, it's my understanding that most of the ministers for intra-city driving, okay, are going to be using saloon cars. Four-wheel drives are going to be pooled. The fact that a number of ministers have been selected from Parliament means that there are certain benefits that would not be duplicated. So I think it's early days yet, okay? I think that we should allow the president the time and the space to be able to get the team to work. The fact that the president himself has addressed the nation should let all of us know that this is something that he has a plan about, and he believes that Ghanaians should support him, and we'll be there.
Let me come to you, Mr. Sam George. Obviously, I'm sure you are also of the opinion that 110 is a bit too high, but I've just been wondering, is there some kind of regret that you didn't appoint as many ministers during your administration?
Let me say a very good morning to our viewers and to your very good self and to my brother George Anda. There is absolutely no regret in the NDC. Under President Mills and President Mahama, President Mills had 75 ministers and President Mahama had 84 ministers. And we have absolutely no regrets. In fact, we honestly did wish that we could have done it with less, because we were minded and mindful of the fact that it's the taxpayers' money. It's the ordinary Ghanaian who foots the bill. And because we were minded by that fact, we have decided to we took a decision whilst in government to ensure that we consolidated where possible. In the sector where my brother has been appointed, if you look at the information communication sector, you have I think 7 people. You have 2 ministers and 5 deputies. Because information has 3 deputies and a minister. Communication has 1 minister and 2 deputies. Under the Mahama administration, what 7 people are coming to do, 3 people were tasked with, a minister and 2 deputies. And so those are ways of being efficient.
Did they do that effectively, though?
Absolutely. You saw massive work done under the Mahama administration in that sector. I mean, the National Data Center was built, the Eastern Corridor Fiber was built, the Accra Digital Center was built, the Tema ICT Park was built, Open Data Initiative was started. You have the Dawa Industrial ICT Park coming up. I mean, loads and loads. We did a lot of things. The ICH bill was passed. We brought in an interconnect clearinghouse. We clamped down on SIM boxing. We did a lot of work in that sector. Okay, and VNO licenses were giving out to ensure that the decentralization and proper management of telecom space. So 3 people did a lot of work in that sector. I'm using that as a case study because that's where my brother is going, and we can replicate that across board, several sectors. And so it's possible to achieve a lot with less. In fact, that's what efficiency is all about. Efficiency is achieving more at less cost. You can't tell me government is going to be efficient when government is ballooning and the ordinary Ghanaian is being asked to reduce. We're all being put on a weight loss program as the state, but the executive.
For both of us, it's good for you to lose weight.
but the executive, well, I will be losing weight, you won't, because you're in the executive now. The executive is being put on a fattening course. Okay, people are saying that, well, maybe because the symbol of the MPP is an elephant, you have an Obolobo government. But I think that everything aside, I honestly think that 110 ministers for 28 million people, really there's something left.
Well, I mean, what's your fear? I mean, if they need more numbers to do the work, what's your fear?
It's not a fear, it's fact. It's fact that clearly some of the positions are going to be made redundant. I mean, Ministry of Information, you have a minister, 3 deputies. Are you having 1 deputy for Facebook, 1 for Twitter, and 1 for Instagram?
How about the fact that there are lots more media houses? There are a lot more people to communicate.
Well, we have the same number of media houses as exists now as when we were in office. There is it's about efficiency. It's about being efficient enough to handle the communication dissemination. Again, this government.
Are you saying that we did that effectively in your era?
Absolutely. There was no time. There was no time. There was no time. There was no
in 1
time
minute
when
now,
government information didn't get circulated to media houses, or government did not respond timelessly to issues. In fact, at a point in time, we were accused of an overload of information being dumped on the media. The point here that we must make clearly is the fact that some of the positions that have been created, you realize that in reality and in truth, many of those, especially amongst the deputy ministers, and in fact, even some of the ministries that have been created, look at the transport sector. You have the Minister for Transport, you have the Minister for Roads and Highways, you have the Minister for Aviation, you have the Minister for Railway Development, you have a Minister for Ports and Harbour. The job that 1 or 2 ministers could do. In fact, in our time, 2 ministers did that. You have 5 ministers, 2 ministers and 2 deputies. Now, you have 5 ministers and about 15 deputies. Makes absolutely no sense. You can try to justify it, but you see, and again, that's the difficulty of governance. And I understand the quagmire my brother finds
You did the same
himself
when
in.
you were there.
Absolutely, it's a difficulty of governance. Even if he doesn't agree with it in his heart of hearts, he can't sit on national TV and disagree with his government. That's the principle of collective responsibility.
Is he speaking your mind, Mr.
But then he won't admit to it, because if he admits to it, then that means he's broken that crate.
Just London.
Yeah, but in London, I think that the reality of the matter is that the Ghanaian people are going to pay more for less work done.
You know, my brother Sam George is predicting doom, and I think the battle.
Oh, he's speaking reality.
No, listen. President John Mahama, the ministers that he has, or the ministers that he had, included ministers that were operating from the presidency. It's on record, the figure is 90. Add those figures to it. It's on record. The figure is 90. Yeah? What is, if I ask you today that what is the number of ministers that you expect His Excellency President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo to appoint, would you be able to give me a number? I don't think so.
No. Let me answer you. Yeah. I wasn't expecting 110, to be honest.
But what were you expecting?
I don't know. I wasn't
exactly
expecting
the point
110.
I'm making.
I wasn't expecting more than we've had in the past.
I was expecting 40 because we promised the lean government.
Listen, we never ever said we're going to have a lean government. We said we're going to have an efficient government.
But you criticized the former president when he made his appointments.
Can I land? My brother Sam is talking about the Ministry of Information, where they were working efficiently. Indeed, you do record, and I'm sure your producers can play it on here, where the president said there was a media cabal, where the messages of the government were not being disseminated properly. Clearly, there were problems in the efficiency of how that ministry was working. You do recall, accounting to the people, how much resources was committed to that, just to disseminate what they said they had done. So listen, the full complement of government includes those that are going to be working from the Flagstaff House. Okay, it includes special assistants if there are going to be any of that, and so we need to look at it from that point of view. His Excellency has said that the benefits of the team that he selected far outweigh the concerns that are being raised. We are saying that we're sensitive to what people are saying, but we're saying that the most important thing that is on our heart and our mind is to deliver.
Are you willing to take a pay cut?
I don't think that is the issue here. The issue is I'm willing to work hard to make sure that Ghana becomes the most business-friendly, the most people-friendly economy in Africa.
Are you willing to take a pay cut?
I don't think that is an issue.
Why not? Because most of the complaints, really, the number is also because of the amount of money we're going to be spending on our ministers. That's why there's so much noise.
Do you know the cost of running the government versus what President John Mahama did? Okay, if you come to me and you give me those figures, okay, and I'm convinced, then we can start talking about these issues. I've said that there are a number of guidelines that I'm going to be giving. If His Excellency the President, in his wisdom, says that there will be a pay cut, of course, we are here to serve in the interest of Ghana, and that's something that will be considered. I cannot sit here and say that I'm willing to take a pay cut when I don't know the basis for it. But I'm saying that we are committed to work, we are committed to fix Ghana, we are committed to make Ghana the most business-friendly and the most people-friendly economy in Africa. And that is the most important thing.
Well, all right. I wanted to box that up with also the fear, because there are a lot of the ministers coming from Parliament. So it's going to take a toll on, already we've been told that some of the committees will have to get new people to chair the committees and things like that. I wonder how you think, with what you are going to say, boxed with this concern about Parliament, the fact that we're taking so many people in that will end up weakening Parliament as well.
Okay. The point that needs to be made, a point I wanted to make, and I'll come to the last issue you just raised, had to be the fact that we were having all of these ministers and deputy ministers, and we've already started seeing the appointments of public PRs or PAs, personal assistants. In some ministries already, they've appointed public spokespersons or spokespersons for the ministry, when those ministries have PRO or public relation outfits in the ministry,
like which ministry?
Like the Ministry for Education.
Who's the spokesperson?
But this Reverend Better, has he been moved?
No, he's there, but Rodney Nkrumah Boateng has been appointed as spokesperson for the ministry.
Okay. Well, Reverend Better is GES.
Yes. Okay. But there's a PRO, there's a PR section, in fact, a well-established PR section in the ministry.
I think what we heard was that some of the PROs were being moved to other sectors, other areas.
Well, you're having.
So there's a new appointment at the Ministry of Education.
And these are things that I mean are not new to an MPP administration. We had special assistants. I mean they have a style of governance you can't take away from them. We saw it under President Kufuor. We've seen it here again. If my brother talks about the cost of governance, well, what I can tell him about the cost of governance is that Office of Government Machinery had 450 million Ghana cedis last year under President Mahama. That's the cost to the taxpayer. This year is 1.5 billion in the budget. Sir, take the budget appendixes.
I mean, I think
the budget appendixes.
I think some George is being extremely.
Oh, you wanted details, and he's given
I'm giving details.
But
450 million, 1.5 billion, more than 300%.
We have to be honest, okay, when we are appearing on programs like this. Okay, you had 450 million. Okay, how many ministries were sitting under the office of the president?
We had five ministers of state at the office of the president.
I didn't say ministers of state. I said ministries. Okay,
you have the ministries.
But we have an agenda to deliver. Okay, so the budget, the one district, one factory, one constituency, $1 million, one farming community, one irrigation dam. Okay, all those special initiatives are sitting under the office of the president. Water and sanitation, okay, sitting under the office of the president. And so indeed, if the budget is increased because there's a task to be delivered, and it's clearly stated what the additional ministries are and what the focus is, I don't see how you can actually come on air and.
But you decided to split some of the ministries, really, some of the functions.
Mama V.
Water.
Mama V.
Works.
Do you have where do you stay? Where do you stay? Where do you stay, Mama V? Where do you stay?
Well, you're going to give me a bigger car to.
No. Where do you stay? Where do you stay?
You've taken away my speaking.
There's a lot. There are a lot of communities that don't have pipe-borne water. Okay, sanitation is a big problem in Ghana. Let us not behave like we don't know what the issues are. Would
this actually reflect? I mean, are we actually going to see
Mama,
something?
I thought I was supposed to finish my
different?
submission.
Yes.
He's drawn you into going back to him.
I think basically, if we have 110, Mr. Sam George, and they are able to do the work on the ground, if the sanitation ministry is actually going to work and we're going to see Accra, for instance, cleaner, then nobody will complain about 110.
But that is why we are saying that wait and see.
Let's allow him to learn. Yes.
For all these people that His Excellency has appointed or His Excellency has nominated,
so we have to wait and see.
Subject to the approval of Parliament.
So wait and see.
Okay, I want my brother Sub George to mention one person that he feels is not competent enough. And let me remind you. Let me remind you. In the last administration, there was one person, okay, that had a big problem, and his appointment was confirmed 2 weeks before the government left office. Okay, everybody had problems with that person.
Who's that?
You know the person?
No, I don't. I'm asking.
Okay. Go ahead and let your production
That's
people
not
find
fair.
out.
That's not fair.
Let your production
That's
people.
not. So that person wasn't competent?
That's what Ghanaians say.
That person has an MPhil.
It was not.
Anyway, but you see, Mama V, let's be clear. Let's be clear on something. No, George, relax.
My brother, Sam George.
Let him come in. Let him
My brother, Sam George.
This bullying, executive bullying,
he knows very well. Okay, he's used the Ministry of Communication. I mean, when we're outside, he was talking about how the team that is there is great and stuff like that. Then you come
look at.
So you agree that they have a fantastic team, Mr. George? Essentially, that's what.
Yes,
have I said that on air?
No, that's what he's implying.
You see, George cannot. George is trying to. He's trying to play a very smart one on TV because he knows that by virtue of professional courtesy, the same reason why he couldn't mention the individual who was speaking about's name. I mean, it is wrong.
Okay, but apart from 110, what's wrong with the people that have been appointed?
No, let's go into that. Okay, if you say that the increase from 450 million to 1.5 billion is because of the ministries that have been created in there. Let's take, for example, the Ministry for Water and Sanitation. That's a ministry that's been carved out of two ministries, the Ministry of Water Resources, Works and Housing, and the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development. Now, you asked, will we see a cleaner Accra? The problem with sanitation in Accra, it's not like the Ministry of Sanitation is coming to start a new waste collection company or bring in further decentralization of the waste collection processes. No, the issue with waste collection in this country had always been an issue of payment with the major waste collectors. Is there a guarantee? Increasing the allocation to the Office of Government Machinery only increases money to the ministry. It does not increase funding made available to the erstwhile Ministry of Local Government to pay the waste distributors or the new ministry. It doesn't do that. So that problem still exists. And that's what I'm saying, that look, creating new ministries is not the panacea to the problems of this country. The issue of water, when Ghana Water is not flowing in parts of the eastern region today, it's because Galamsey operators have destroyed the Birim. And 2 of the 4 plants have had to be shut down.
But that's something that you also witnessed. It's not like this is just happening.
So that's why I'm saying that creating a new ministry of water and sanitation and putting it under the office of the president and using that as justification for a 300% plus increase in fund allocation to that ministry doesn't cut it when you look at what the real problems are on the ground. Again, it's mindful for us to know, or it's important for the public to know, that the District Assembly's Common Fund, which is going to be shared by 216 districts in this country, to be used to develop local governance and bring projects to all of us, is capped at 1.5 billion. And that's the same amount of money going to the Office of Government Machinery. So that tells you the priorities of this government. Coming to the issue of Parliament and Parliament being weakened or strengthened. I mean, I think that my brother would have to excuse himself also. He's going to be one of the people who have to be reshuffled. He's on the communication committee with me. And now that he's been made or appointed deputy minister designate, and definitely he'll be approved by the House, he cannot be on that same committee. So he will have to be realigned into other committees. It does not mean that his importance and his input in Parliament is going to be lost. It means that it's going to be realigned. It means that he'll be moved from communication to another ministry, another committee, maybe roads or whatever, or health. And then he makes his input there. Will it take a toll on Parliament? Yes, because you realize that ministers and deputy ministers also do not spend as much time as non-ministers in the chamber because they have responsibilities. I mean, there'll be trips he'll have to make. There'll be meetings in the ministry where he'll be off the floor, where maybe if I was making a submission in communication, he's not there, his minister is not there. They would have wanted for him to be in Parliament to maybe rebut something that I will make or ABA for will make. But all in all, I think that when Odikro makes that allusion, they must realize that it is not necessarily, and here I'm trying to, because this problem was a problem even when we were in government. It's an issue that has to do with the president's hands being tied based on the constitution of the country, where the constitution is clear, 1992 constitution is clear, that you must have 51%, a minimum of 51% of your appointees, of your ministers, as members of parliament.
But the fact that we haven't made any changes to that means that every administration is comfortable with it.
You see, the constitutional review processes are clear. And again, in changing, I think that is also an entrenched clause. You may need to put it up for a referendum and all of that. But the issue here for me is Parliament will suffer because of the excesses of the executive.
Excesses?
Yes. Why did I say excesses? If we had 90 ministers, it meant that we would have had to have 46, a minimum of 46, or maybe 50 of them coming from Parliament. Now, when you have 110, it means that you have to have at least 56 of them. In this case, we have almost 70 of them or 75 of them coming from Parliament. So it means that 75 of their 150, how many are you? 150 something, or 164? 164 is out. That's almost 50% of their numbers. So the president, if he, being a former member of the legislature, should have been minded to realize that to strengthen Parliament, should have had a smaller government size, so that less ministers. I mean, Nkrumah did so much with only 40 ministers. You can imagine. And when
the population was not this big.
And when yeah, you can look at that. That's a valid argument to make. But you see, like you rightly pointed out to my brother, when on the 26th of May, 2009, then candidate Akufo-Addo, now President Akufo-Addo, said that he expected President Mills with his 74 ministers, 75 ministers, to have run a lean government. And unfortunately, the only thing that had become lean was a ball of kinky that had grown lean. One would have expected that such an advocate for lean governance, who could equate lean governance to lean kinky, when he had the opportunity, he would have ensured that our economy became bigger and government became smaller.
Maybe you should have pushed for him to make a promise, because he didn't promise. The last on this conversation, and then we have to move on to some other things.
Okay. My brother St. George is, again, trying to be very, very... let me drop that one. But listen, we have a task that we have to deliver. It is not necessarily the size of government. We have stated clearly that we are conscious of the effect on the public purse. We have stated that we are going to make sure that there are guidelines that come out to make sure that we do not overburden the public purse. And we all know that the complement of the team that has been assembled by His Excellency the President are people that are results focused. And I liked the question that you were asking, that are we saying that these problems are going to be addressed? And I can say yes. These problems are going to be addressed. And some judge will bring me his stone or bring me my stone. Now, on the issue of Parliament being affected, I'll use two honorable members of Parliament that are on the other side. Honorable Haruna Idrisu and Honorable Alban Babin, the second Deputy Speaker. These are two individuals that were in the executive, but indeed, if you talk about people who have contributed or are still contributing to Parliament, there are two examples on the other side that I can clearly say that these people are people that I look up to and I want to be like them as I develop.
So they were effective on both sides.
Exactly.
In the executive
and then that is, you see, when you talk about
maybe that goes to personal quality of the...
But that is the... But that is...
So how many Haruna Idrisus and Alban Babins do we have
that is why,
on your side?
That is why, you see, if you could mention particular names that you believe do not deserve to be put in the service of His Excellency's government or executive, okay, then we can address those specific issues. It's early days yet, Okay? Let us allow the president to work with the mandate that he has been given by the people of Ghana. Okay? It is not in the interest of the MPP it's not in the interest of MPP not to deliver. Okay? My brother and his team had the opportunity. He's telling me about what is happening in the eastern region with water. He's telling us about the issues of sanitation. Why didn't you fix it? You had 4 years. Why didn't you fix it? We have been giving a 4-year mandate. And before the end of the 4 years, Ghana will be happy days.
We've also been encouraged to be citizens and not spectators.
Exactly.
So every step of the way, we've got to open our eyes and ask
That is
questions.
most appreciated. And I'm saying that the fact that His Excellency himself, okay, has come on air and has addressed Ghanaians on these issues should let you know that we have a listening president.
Just the final one on this.
Indeed. If you realize on social media that some of the strongest critics of this decision are members of the MPP party or the New Patriotic Party. Okay, it didn't used to happen in the previous administration. Okay, like he was saying, if there was something that they didn't believe in, they were to a certain line. Okay, and we are developing.
Which appointee has come out to criticize the
I said members of the New Patriotic
but
Party.
members of the NDC also criticize activism.
I just wanted just a final one on this. Ministry of Information and Ministry of Communication. What's the difference?
Well, I mean, one is about dissemination of government information. Okay, picking up it deals directly with information. The communications aspects about ICT I mean, they are two separate ministries.
But let me just quickly
please go ahead.
I wanted to say something on an earlier point he had made about policy guidelines that were going to come out very soon. And he gave an example where he said that of the vehicles.
Yeah.
Why that's not going to be feasible and it won't work is that no MP who's been made a minister will use his vehicle from Parliament to do government work or executive work.
Why not?
And he knows why. Because he knows why. He knows why. Because you see, the executive work is a different job from the parliamentary job. He knows. The vehicles the 4x4s you're going to get from Parliament are cars you're paying for. You're paying for them yourself. It's not a car that's been given to you as other colleague ministers who are non-MPs will get. So a non-MP minister will get a 4x4 to do cross-country trips. And then you ask an MP minister that the vehicle he is not finished paying for will finish paying for it in December 2020. Myself and him. All of us were going to take the same loan. They'll be deducting from our salaries.
But what's wrong? What's wrong in using it?
Because nobody will use that personal
get the ministry to fuel. Get the ministry to fuel and then service the vehicle because you're using it for that job as well.
Let me clarify.
It's better you get it and use it. Oh, George, let him land.
And then I'll get you to.
He's totally out of order. Okay, some George is totally out of order on this issue.
You see, it's one thing to give directives. Okay. He says the Minister for Finance uses a saloon car, and so every other minister will do so. And in our time, the Minister for Finance always uses a saloon car. The Minister for Communication always uses a saloon car.
But you didn't issue any directives. There were no guidelines.
Who says?
So you didn't follow
those guidelines have always been there from time immemorial. Tell me, who is going to chase the ministers when George is moving from, I don't know where, if you get the bungalow, but let's assume that he's moving from Ewutu to come to work. Is there going to be who is going to be standing at Kaswa to ensure that George is coming in a saloon car and not coming in a 4x4? Or when he gets to office in the 4x4, would you seize the car and tell him he should pick a taxi home and go and pick the saloon car? I mean, some of these things are put on paper, but in reality, we're all in Ghana. We'll all see. Okay. Well, I'll come on this show and show you pictures of ministers.
I was going to
I'll show you pictures of ministers. And please, to our viewers, when you see a government minister driving a V8 in town, please take a picture and let's tweet it at Joy News.
So you said you wanted some clarification. Yes, sir.
There's a big problem in our country. We need to change our mindset, and it all starts with leadership. For some George to come on air and be saying that this thing would not work shows the kind of mindset and the political ideology that he's coming from.
But he's been there, so he's telling you what is real.
And we saw it under President Kufuor. We saw it under Professor Mills.
He's been there with the NDC ideology. Okay? we in the MPP believe that being a member of the executive is an opportunity to serve, an opportunity to make a difference. We see politics as a vocation and not a career. We are here to help fix Ghana. We are here to put Ghana, to make Ghana the most business friendly.
So who's going to be checking?
Listen, there are going to be processes in place. And remember what I said.
Ministers, newly appointed ministers are already driving V8s in town.
Remember what I said, that it is about intra-city driving, okay, and then out-of-city driving. You understand? The fact that a minister uses a four-wheel drive outside a city, okay, doesn't mean that he has flouted the regulation or the guideline. Indeed, there are certain places, even within the city, where the roads are terrible, and it would be safer and better for the person to use.
So what's the point in having this rule then?
Even the intra-city, they are telling us they are part of the
intra-city. To use the vehicles they want to use.
No,
it's the hypocrisy of governors that
about the
continue dragging us
It's
down.
about the cost of running
How much difference would it make when in certain areas, even within the city, you're allowed to use your big vehicles?
Mama V, I am just giving examples of what could happen. Okay, I think that it's quite interesting that when we are drawing these examples, the feedback from you that comes is that, so how much savings are you going to make? Every drop of the peswa or every CD matters in this situation.
Okay. If you go on Joy Online, if you go on my Joy Online,
let me finish. Okay. Let me finish. Okay, Mama V, we have made a commitment to Ghanaians. We came out with our manifesto. We've come out with our budget. If you look at the focus of the manifesto, it's in sync with the focus on the budget. If you look at the individuals that His Excellency has nominated to serve in executive to deliver, it's in total sync. Give us time and let us do the work for God and country. Thank you.
Mamavi,
Mr. George, yes,
if you go on my Joy Online, I was trying to see if I could quickly get it, but if you go online in 2013, I was on Joy FM, and I took on government ministers, NDC government ministers. John Mahama was president.
But you were not a staffer then, were you?
Oh, doesn't matter. At that time, I was part of the communication setup for government. I was a spokesperson for government at the time.
Okay, so you took government on.
I took government ministers on when the president came to deliver his State of the Nation address, and came in a saloon car. He came in a Toyota. Then he had not even started using the Avalon. He was using the Camrys. He came in the Toyota Camry, and ministers who came with him came in their V8s, and I complained about it. So it's not something
but
which.
Subsequently, did anything change?
That's the point.
You cannot take the inefficiency or lack of proper leadership.
The fact that nothing changed.
When I speak about that,
doesn't mean
exactly.
No, let me tell you something. Let me tell you something.
Exactly.
You see, if we want to develop as a nation, and it is this attitude that causes the perennial flooding in Accra. We always come and talk about the same issue. Most of the issues in Ghana are cyclical. At a certain point in time every year, we come back and talk about them. It's simply because we're not facing the reality as Ghanaians. We're playing the ostrich. We're trying to say what is politically correct and not what will fix the problem.
So how do we?
And that's what I'm saying to you.
How do we reverse this trend?
And that's what I'm saying to you.
I think you're being extremely unfair here.
No. I just want to ask him. He's been there. He says he's been there. I'll come to you. I'll give you the opportunity.
He has been there.
I'll give you the opportunity. So I just want to find out from
the speaker has ruled you out of order.
He has been there under NDC.
So I want to find out from you.
The people of Ghana have rejected the NDC.
What is workable? What is workable?
I may have served in the NDC administration, but as a Ghanaian, I saw the Kufuor administration. And I'm saying to you that under President Kufuor, ministers drove their V8s, their 4x4 vehicles, intra-city. It happened under Professor
Was there a clear directive then?
This directive has always been there. It's always been there. It's one of the fine policies that we have in this country that never gets implemented by the political class.
How do we reverse this?
And that's what I'm saying. That, look, if we don't want to, if we want to call a spade and not be politically correct, which is what I'm trying to do here. And I hope that government could also do same. Let's stop making that a point that, oh, we're going to pass a policy and say that ministers should drive intercity in saloon cars, when we know that it is fine, it's a fine speaking point, but in reality, it is not what happened.
So just drop it.
Drop it.
Okay.
And stop the hypocrisy. Because look, I'm telling you that right now, of the ministers that have been approved, the ministers, almost 40-something ministers that have been approved, some of them come to Parliament. We've seen some of them attending official functions in intracity, and they've been driving V8s already. They are driving their V8s already, ministerial V8s. In fact, in some of the ministries, there is no saloon vehicle available for a minister. Most of them are V8s. And so that's the point I'm making. Now look, let us stop the hypocrisy as politicians.
Okay.
Because that is what will create the problem for us.
I think his point is clear.
I know his point is not clear at all.
Listen, and to expose the hypocrisy is the point he made. Is the point he made.
Are you going to allow me to talk?
I'm landing in 15 seconds. In 15 seconds. The hypocrisy here is, first statement, there's a policy guideline, no minister should drive a V8 intracity. Upon further scrutiny, we're told that even intracity, there are some exceptions. So where does the exception end and where does the norm begin? It's a gray area.
Okay, so I get the feeling that we need a lot more clarity.
No, I think you see, I didn't say that there is a policy guideline. I said that there are going to be policy guidelines, and amongst them, it is my understanding that four-wheel drives are going to be carpooled, and ministers are going to be.
But apparently, from what he says, this is not new, by the way.
Well, listen, the fact that you have a leader who cannot direct his team to do what is right doesn't mean that.
So our president is going to become a car police.
When you finish talking, let me know. Okay? The fact that you have a leader who cannot lead, okay, and was referred to as incompetent.
You don't want to go down that
and now you have a leader who's saying that I'm going to take those tough decisions. Okay? The NDC have always adopted a policy that whatever it is that the MPP says we are going to do, they tell us that's impossible. You are telling us that's impossible to carpool four-wheel drives. I cannot think far on that.
Okay.
Hold on. Let me land. Let me land. When we said in our manifesto that we're going to execute a number of tax cuts for what we refer to as nuisance tax, they told us it was impossible.
You failed to do the principal one, ESLA.
Indeed. Just last week, Parliament, in its wisdom, approved 5 tax cuts.
We're aware of that. I was just going to say that.
So
clearly, you will not agree on anything. You take your positions and argue on those points.
It's not.
So he told me before we came on air that everything I said he was going to agree with.
Let's agree to move on. I wasn't privy to that agreement.
No,
so let me,
because when we look at the topics, let me tell you.
You're going to get a new chamber. I don't know.
He changed the narrative. Okay, we looked at the topics and we were like, listen, all these topics are social issues. So we're not going to politicize them.
So you agreed on something.
We agreed. Then he comes and he starts to, I don't know whether he's going to text from the party's office or what. But anyway, happy days. I mean, listen, we are doing this for God.
I was just reading that India is going to help us build some 400-seater parliamentary chamber.
You want us to discuss that? Okay,
from China to India. But let me just read a little bit of that story. It says Ghana's wish to have a new parliamentary chamber to accommodate more people could soon materialize following the decision of the Indian government to extend its assistance in that regard. The 400-seater capacity new chamber will replace the present 275-seater capacity chamber, which was configured in 2013 to accommodate more members of parliament. The Speaker of Parliament, Professor Michael Quay, told the Daily Graphic in an interview in India on the sidelines of the just ended 12th Confederation of Indian Industries Exim Bank Conclave on India-Africa Partnership in India that an Indian construction firm which built the Flagstaff House from 2006 to 2008 had already put a team of architects on site for feasibility studies. That's good news?
Yes, I think it's good news. I think you have leadership that is visionary. You have leadership that is thinking far. Sam George will not deny the fact that the facilities that we operate from at Parliament are quite stretched. And there are challenges there. Not all the 275 members of Parliament can be accommodated. However, whilst looking at our own infrastructure and our own facilities to enable us perform the legislative work that has been given to us, we need to balance that with other things that are also equally important as far as social services are concerned. And for me, one area is like the something that has become topical that your station or your media house has been pushing, the Confanoche Hospital. So I think that we should be balancing these issues whilst looking at the infrastructure for Parliament. I think that we should also be looking at putting in place the critical infrastructure that will address some of these social concerns. And I guess that Sam George and I would agree on this issue. This is how we had agreed to play today. So let me see whether he will keep to his word. Let's see.
Okay, so this is going to cost some $200 million. Yeah.
I agree largely with George's sentiments, and again, I've been where he is. It's difficult to critique your government, and he's done a fantastic job of balancing it out and pointing the fact that yes, we have challenges in Parliament. Yes, as new MPs, we are supposed to sit at the back, and at times even where you sit at the back, you can't even hear.
It's tradition, isn't it?
Yeah, it's tradition. But you see, you want to ensure that the facilities are robust enough that irrespective of where you're sitting in the chamber, you should even be able to hear. The air conditioning should work well, and all of that. But we must be minded as a people and as a political class that we cannot always put our comfort first, and we must have our priorities right as a nation. Because yes, our facilities are stretched, but if you ask me as a Ghanaian what my priority would be if there was a $200 million facility, is it to build a new chamber that will make me more comfortable, meaning I'm already comfortable, but more comfortable, as against a woman in labor having to queue to have a bed to deliver? I think it's unconscionable for us. Irrespective of the fact that I agree that yes, we will need a new facility, I think that at this point in time, if our priority as a nation, our priority as a political class is to put up a new 400-seater chamber when we don't have 400 MPs, when maybe we could do some upgrades to our current facility and move that resource, if they exist, to take care of more pressing needs, I think that it would be unconscionable for us to prioritize a new chamber over making sure that women, our mothers, our wives, get a decent place to deliver. And so for me, I think that it's a fantastic move by the Speaker. We know that the Speaker is passionate about the welfare of members of Parliament, and we applaud him for that. But I think that as a nation and as a government must have its priorities right. I believe that that is why the Eswal Mahama administration focused extensively on healthcare to ensure that we took care of some of these problems. I'll hope and pray that this administration would deepen the seeds that have been, or entrench the efforts that have been made, because we realize the challenges of Confanoche. That's why the Eswal Mahama administration started the second military hospital in Syria, in the Ashanti
But you know
region.
the issue with Confanoche, I was just going to say that I like very much the fact that you remember Confanoche, because I didn't even bring it up. But that block has been sitting there for 43 years, and it's a block that's been started, expanded, but it's not been completed.
Absolutely.
So instead of putting up new structures elsewhere, why don't you just finish this block?
And that's what I'm saying. Government is a continuum. Okay, there's a new block that's under construction. Yes, but that's why the Mahama administration also decided that you need to complement. You need to, and we were hopeful of another 4 years where we possibly could have finished that new block that had started. But that's why, but that new block in itself will still not be able to handle the pressure on Confanoche. In fact, the NDC administration reduced dramatically and drastically the pressure on Confanoche. If you ask me how, it was by making sure that the Tamale Teaching Hospital became a tertiary facility. Because hitherto, major issues in the whole part of the northern sector of Ghana, the three northern regions, the Bronga-Hafo region, and the Ashanti region all had to be referred to Confanoche, putting more pressure there. But with Tamale Teaching Hospital becoming, or Tamale Hospital becoming a Tamale Teaching Hospital, with the facilities to carry out some of the sophisticated medical procedures you have, that pressure from the 3 northern regions has taken a nosedive. And it's,
well,
but still,
I won't say exactly, because they still get a lot of referral cases.
They do,
coming from all the regions surrounding them as well.
Absolutely.
But
the pressure has reduced, and that's why. I'm coming.
Beyond your talk with us today here on the show, which we really appreciate, are you going to write to the Speaker and say, Mr. Speaker, we love this idea, we love the efforts, but is it possible that you can use half of these funds and use the other half to finish projects that are more essential?
I wouldn't want to put Mr. Speaker in that spot, because, again, it will not be Mr. Speaker's decision to make what infrastructural projects. Mr. Speaker is head of legislature. He's thinking about his arm of government. It behoves on the President and his Minister for Health and the 2 or 3 deputies.
Mr. Hunter, beyond
I thought you had landed.
No, because we don't have too much time. I wanted us to go to Kentampo Waterfall before we wrap up.
It behoves on them to prioritize, making sure that they finish the 2nd military hospital in Syria, and then the new regional hospital that we started in Afari Lands, and then complete the 2nd block. That will create enough room and space to alleviate the pain that our women are going through. I think that as a nation, it's a scar on our backs, it's a shame for us as a nation. We must all bow our heads in shame.
I think, Mama V, when you asked about the issue of the new Parliament building, I brought in the balance, and I made reference to the Confanochi Teaching Hospital, the maternity ward, and the challenges that they were going through. There's no denying the fact that we need to make sure that we address the social issues, and I am not sure that there'll be any justification for us to come here and sort of push that under the carpet. The fact of the matter, however, is that we need a bit more detail about this proposal. I mean, we need to know what the timelines are. We need to know
for this chamber.
Exactly, you understand, because we have heard that there's actually going to be a few more offices to be built to accommodate the 275. Okay, which will probably be a bigger priority than.
Why Job 600 doesn't take care of all 275?
No, there are about 18 members of Parliament who do not have offices, and at every point in time, whoever is in government bears that 18. You lose 18. 18 of your members don't have, because you assume that some of those members
will
of
go to the
Parliament
ministries and they can use the ministries as their offices.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I mean, let us say that as a nation, we should all be together on this one. We should do all that we can to fix the challenges that our hospitals are facing. I mean, there's no justification for our mothers and our sisters to go through what they are going through at Confanochi. And it's something that I believe both Sam George and I are quite passionate on.
All right. We want to follow up and come and visit Parliament. So maybe we'll add the 2 of you. Did you hear what he said? No,
that here we stuck to the agreement.
I wanted us to end with this not so good news that came yesterday, and the BBC picked it up as well. And I wonder what people think about our tourist sites already. The Kentampo waterfalls and the fact that it's killed. The various newspapers are given different numbers. We put it at 17. The Daily Graphic put it at 17, but I think the Ghanaian Times put it at 20, and some other paper as well. We're not sure exactly what may have happened, but they said heavy winds blowing down trees, and there were people on excursion, and then, that huge number of them, we had to lose them. How do we fix this?
I think it's very sad. I heard about this late afternoon yesterday. What crossed my mind was, okay, so my son tells me that he and his colleagues, or he and his class, are going on an excursion, and the next thing that I hear is that a tree has fallen and a number of them have passed. It's terrible. I would like to express my sincere condolences to the families of those that have been bereaved. Our concerns, our heart, our prayers are with the families of those that have been bereaved and those that are hurt. I would like to say a big thank you to the police and the relief officers that have been working around the clock. I understand that they're going to call it off probably around midday today. They're still working to see whether they can rescue some more people. I'm aware that the Ministry of Tourism and Creative Arts have issued a statement on this issue. And I believe that the minister is on her way to Kintampo right now to assess the situation and then to look at what can be done to make sure that this is not repeated. But this brings to bear the issue of our maintenance culture in this country. This is not an issue that we should politicize. This is an issue that as Ghanaians, we should all make sure that we are pushing for those in authority, and as individuals, we are pushing for the culture of maintenance to be respected. It's an accident, but I'm sure that some of these accidents, if we do the proper work, if we do the proper audits, if we do what needs to be done, we can avoid some of these situations. I believe that there's some ongoing discussions for all our tourist sites to be audited as far as health and safety is concerned. And it's unfortunate that this has happened. I believe that that work is going to be fast-tracked to make sure that we do not lose any more lives through situations like this, especially through tourism, which is a big potential for turning the economy around as far as generating foreign exchange and getting people to see more of Ghana, getting people to be more patriotic, getting people to love Ghana.
Yeah, sure. Mr. George?
Why do you call me George and you call him Mr. George?
I'll call you Mr. Anda and call you
Okay.
Mr. George.
Okay. I just wanted to be sure that there was no bias there. Mr. George, please go.
Very sad story, and my heartfelt condolences. And I believe that when I say that, that represents the position of the NDC party to the families of those who are deceased and injured. It's a sad story. Sometime last week, in almost the same area, there was an accident that also claimed some lives, and then in Tiani, and then we've had this sad story again. Through this, no amount of words can bring back the dead or soothe the pain that parents are going through. You know, I mean, as a parent myself, like George said, it's the last news you want to hear, that your child comes to ask you for the permission to go on an excursion of this nature, and you sit down and blame yourself and say, I should have said no, or something, and all of that. Again, the toll it's going to take on us as a nation. Tourism, I believe, will earn us as much as maybe oil and gold if we package it right in this country. We've got fantastic tourist sites. You visit other West African countries like the Gambia, and their tourist sites, if you compare them to ours, it's like comparing apples and alugutugui, you know. But the way they've packaged it and how much money they make from tourism, Gambia makes more money from tourism than the Republic of Ghana does. And that's a sad thing. And this is even going to make our tourism sector take a hit. I think that as a nation, we failed, successive governments, to boost the real potential of Ghana's tourism. We need to ensure that at our tourist sites, you have a resident occupational health and safety personnel there who is certified, who ensures that the facilities are constantly meeting the safety standards of the world. You travel across the world, in the Western world, there's safety officers in almost every tourist site. You don't have that here. In fact, the maintenance of our tourist sites, the road network to our tourist sites, it makes it difficult. You see, and most times you look at foreigners coming in as the main earner for tourism in our country, which is wrong. Local tourism generates a lot of revenue in the West, where people travel from Florida to New York, from New York to Chicago, internally just visiting the tourist centers. Imagine how many people in Ghana have never been to the Kintampo waterfalls, or the Hui waterfalls, or the Wabingfima Monkey Sanctuary, or many of the waterfalls we have, the Fajato Mountains. We don't do any of these things locally. And this sad story is just going to even make it, right now everybody's going to be afraid to go to this place because you're asking yourself what's going to happen if I go here and all of that. And so as a nation, again, we just have to have our priorities right. We're a country with great potential. It's sad that we start the week with the loss of 17 or 20 or whatever number young people. The loss of one Ghanaian life is wrong. It shouldn't happen, especially not in the circumstances.
Sure.
And so we once again grieve with the bereaved families and ask God to grant them the fortitude to bear the loss that they've suffered.
All right. And on that note, we've got to end this segment. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah.
We wish you well, Mr. George Anda. We'll be looking forward for.
Sorry, let me just say something. Today is 1 year since the passing of Jacob Echibilamte. I'd like us to remember his family at this difficult time, and we pray for the repose of his soul and the souls of all the faithfully departed.
All right.
We wish his family same.
All right. We'll see you soon at the appointments committee. And we hope that all the questions that we want to ask.
And I have my smartphone on the ready. I mean, if I see George in a V8 Intercity on an asphalt road, I'll take a picture of it.
Please send it to us. We'll ask him where he was going in it.
No, I'll be in his V8. I'll be in his V8, so there's no cause for alarm.
Thank you very much. That's Member of Parliament for Ewutu Senya West and Member of Parliament for Ningo Pram Pram. Thank you both for being here. Stay with us.